Welcome to Drift Off and Discover, your calm place to unwind as we explore the history of the coat hanger. Before we begin, a brief note for your safety. Please do not listen to this wander through history while driving or operating machinery. Only listen when you're somewhere you can relax safely and completely. There is a quiet comfort in the familiar objects that surround daily life. The small things that rarely call attention to themselves, yet shape the rhythm of each day. Among them is something so modest and so unassuming that it often disappears into the background. It waits patiently behind cupboard doors or along the rails of wardrobes. It supports the fabrics that warm the body and express identity. It is always there, always ready, always steady. The coat hanger. Tonight, you are invited to drift into its story, a story that stretches far beyond the simple curve of wire or the smooth arc of wood. A story that reaches back through centuries of changing clothing, shifting customs, and evolving ideas about order and care. As you settle into stillness, let the gentle flow of history guide you. Let the soft imagery of quiet rooms, folded garments, and peaceful spaces ease your breathing. Let the slow unfolding of time carry you toward rest. When you are ready, we begin. Long before the coat hanger existed, people still needed to care for the garments they wore. In the earliest human settlements, clothing was simple. Animal skins, woven grasses, and early textiles were draped over the body or wrapped for warmth. When these garments were not in use, they were folded, rolled, or laid across smooth surfaces. There was no concept of hanging clothing in the way it is understood today. Instead, garments rested on the ground or on raised platforms, protected from moisture and dirt. As weaving techniques improved, fabrics became softer and more delicate. Early linen in ancient Egypt, woolen cloaks in the Mediterranean, and finely woven textiles in Asia all required gentler handling. People began to store clothing in chests, baskets, and carved wooden boxes. These containers kept garments safe, but also pressed them into tight spaces. The idea of suspending clothing in the air had not yet taken shape. In ancient palaces and temples, garments were sometimes draped over wooden rods or laid across carved stands. These early supports were not designed for long-term storage. They were temporary resting places used during rituals or preparations, yet they hinted at a future idea. The notion that clothing could be lifted away from surfaces and allowed to hang freely. As centuries passed, clothing grew more complex. Tunics, robes, cloaks, and layered garments became common across many cultures. With each new style came new challenges in caring for fabric. Heavy cloaks needed airing, fine robes needed space. The seeds of a future invention were quietly being planted. The world was slowly preparing for the moment when clothing would no longer simply rest. It would hang. During the medieval period, clothing became a symbol of status and identity. Wealthy households owned multiple garments made from wool, silk, and linen. These garments were often decorated with embroidery, fur, or metalwork. They required careful storage to protect them from insects, dampness, and wear. The earliest wardrobes were not pieces of furniture, but entire rooms. A wardrobe was a chamber where garments were stored, repaired, and sometimes even guarded. Clothing was folded and placed on shelves or in chests. Yet in some of these rooms, wooden pegs lined the walls. Cloaks and outer garments were hung from these pegs by loops sewn into the fabric. This was one of the first widespread uses of hanging storage. The peg was simple, a small projection of wood that allowed a garment to rest from a single point. It did not preserve shape or prevent creasing. It did not support the shoulders or distribute weight, but it lifted clothing into the air. It allowed air to circulate. It kept garments visible and accessible. The peg was a quiet step toward the future coat hanger. As trade expanded and textiles became more varied, the need for better storage grew. Tailors crafted garments with structured shoulders and fitted shapes. These new forms were not well suited to folding. They needed support. They needed something that could hold their shape. The world was inching closer to the idea of a shaped hanger, though it would still take centuries for the concept to fully form. The Renaissance brought a flourishing of art, culture, and craftsmanship. Clothing became more elaborate, sleeves puffed outward, bodices were stiffened, collars rose high around the neck. These garments required careful maintenance. Folding them risked crushing delicate shapes. Draping them over pegs caused stretching and distortion. In wealthy households, servants used padded forms to support garments during cleaning and preparation. These forms were not hangers in the modern sense. They were shaped mannequins or partial supports used temporarily. Yet they demonstrated a growing understanding of how clothing needed to be held. In some regions, wooden frames were carved to mimic the shape of shoulders. These frames were used to display garments or to air them after washing. They were rare and handcrafted. They were not used for everyday storage, but they represented an important shift. The idea that clothing could be suspended from a shaped support rather than a simple peg. Tailors also began to use wooden forms to hold garments during construction. These forms allowed them to shape fabric more precisely. They also revealed how clothing draped when supported from the shoulders. This knowledge would later influence the design of the coat hanger. Still, the world was not yet ready for a universal solution. Clothing varied widely in shape and structure. Storage methods remained inconsistent. But the concept of supporting garments from the shoulders was quietly taking root. By the 18th century, furniture design had evolved significantly. The wardrobe cabinet emerged as a common household item. It was a tall piece of furniture with doors that opened to reveal shelves, drawers, and sometimes a horizontal rod. This rod was used to hang garments by loops or straps. Clothing was still not hung by its shoulders, but the idea of suspended storage was becoming more widespread. The wardrobe cabinet created a new environment for clothing. Garments were no longer stored in chests or laid across surfaces. They were lifted into the air, protected from dust, and given space to breathe. This shift in storage habits created the perfect setting for a future invention. A shaped hanger could now be placed inside a wardrobe and used daily. At the same time, clothing styles were changing. Coats, jackets, and dresses were tailored with structured shoulders. These garments needed support to maintain their shape. Folding them caused creases. Hanging them by loops caused strain. The need for a better solution was becoming increasingly clear. In some households, improvised supports were used. Wooden sticks were carved with slight curves. Cloth was wrapped around rods to create padding. These early attempts were not standardized. They varied from home to home. But they showed that people were beginning to think about how to support clothing more gently. The stage was set. The wardrobe cabinet was ready. The garments were ready. The world was ready. All that remained was the spark of invention. The 19th century was a time of rapid change. Industrialization transformed manufacturing. Clothing became more accessible. Tailoring techniques improved. People owned more garments than ever before. With this growth came a new challenge: how to store clothing efficiently and safely. The first true coat hangers appeared during this period. They were simple wooden designs shaped like human shoulders. Some were handcrafted by carpenters, others were made by tailors for their clients. These early hangers were not mass-produced. They were functional objects created to meet specific needs. One of the earliest known hanger designs was a simple wooden triangle with a curved top. It supported the shoulders of a coat or jacket. It prevented creasing and allowed air to circulate. It was a quiet revolution, a small change that made a significant difference in the care of clothing. As the century progressed, more variations emerged. Some hangers included a horizontal bar for trousers. Others were padded with fabric to protect delicate garments. These designs were still limited to wealthier households. They were not yet common in everyday life. But they laid the foundation for what would soon become a universal object. The idea of the coat hanger had finally taken shape. It was no longer a vague concept or a temporary support. It was a practical tool, a shaped form designed specifically to hold clothing. The world was ready for the next step: mass production. The early 20th century brought a wave of innovation. Factories expanded, new materials became available, people sought efficient solutions to everyday problems. It was during this period that the wire hanger emerged. The wire hanger was simple: a single piece of wire bent into the shape of shoulders with a hook at the top. It was lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to produce. It could be made quickly in large quantities. This made it ideal for laundries, hotels, and households. The wire hanger spread rapidly. It became a common sight in wardrobes across the world. Its simplicity was its strength. It required minimal material. It could be shaped by hand or by machine. It could be adapted for different garments. It was a quiet triumph of practical design. As wire hangers became more common, new variations appeared. Some included clips for skirts. Others had notches for straps. Some were coated with paper or fabric to prevent slipping. The hanger was evolving. It was becoming more versatile, more refined, more essential. The wire hanger also influenced the design of wooden hangers. Manufacturers began to produce wooden hangers in standardized shapes. They added metal hooks and bars. They created designs for suits, dresses, and coats. The hanger was no longer a simple tool. It was a carefully crafted object designed to support the growing variety of modern clothing. The age of invention had transformed the hanger from a handmade curiosity into a universal household item. As the 20th century progressed, the design of homes changed. Built-in closets became common. These closets included rods specifically designed for hangers. This architectural shift cemented the hanger's place in daily life. The hanger was no longer an accessory, it was a necessity. It allowed people to organize their clothing neatly. It protected garments from wrinkles. It made wardrobes more efficient. It supported the growing culture of ready-to-wear fashion. Closets filled with rows of hangers became a symbol of order, a quiet space where garments rested in gentle alignment. The soft curve of each hanger supported the shoulders of coats and shirts. The smooth bar held trousers in place. The closet became a sanctuary of calm and structure. Manufacturers continued to refine hanger designs. Wooden hangers were polished and shaped with care. Wire hangers were coated to prevent rust. Plastic hangers emerged in a rainbow of colours. Each material offered different benefits. Each design served a different purpose. The hanger had become a family of tools rather than a single object. The modern home embraced the hanger fully. It became part of daily routines. A garment was lifted from its hanger in the morning and returned to it in the evening. The hanger supported the quiet rhythm of dressing and undressing. It played its role without fanfare, always present, always steady. As clothing styles diversified, so did hangers. Designers created specialized hangers for specific garments. Suit hangers with broad shoulders supported tailored jackets. Skirt hangers with clips held fabric gently. Padded hangers protected delicate dresses. Trouser hangers used bars or clamps to prevent creasing. Each new design reflected a deeper understanding of how clothing needed to be cared for. The hanger was no longer a single shape. It was a collection of forms, each one crafted to support a particular type of garment. In retail stores, hangers became part of visual presentation. They displayed clothing neatly and consistently. They allowed garments to be seen clearly. They contributed to the calm order of shop floors. The hanger had become both a practical tool and a subtle element of design. In homes, people began to choose hangers that matched their preferences. Wooden hangers for elegance, velvet-covered hangers for grip, slimline hangers for saving space. The hanger had become personal, a small reflection of individual style and organization. Through all these changes, the hanger remained humble. It did not draw attention to itself. It simply adapted, quietly, steadily, gracefully. In recent years, attention has turned to sustainability. People have become more aware of the materials used in everyday objects. Plastic hangers, once common, are now being reconsidered. Many are not recyclable, they accumulate in landfills. This has inspired new approaches to hanger design. Manufacturers are exploring materials such as bamboo, recycled wood, and biodegradable composites. Some companies collect old hangers and repurpose them. Others design hangers that can be easily disassembled for recycling. The hanger is evolving once again, this time with the environment in mind. Digital tools have also influenced hanger design. Three-dimensional modeling allows for precise shaping. New coatings protect garments while reducing environmental impact. Some hangers are designed to fold or collapse for travel. Others are crafted to last a lifetime. The future of the hanger is gentle and thoughtful. It reflects a growing desire to care not only for clothing, but for the world itself. The hanger remains a quiet companion, but now it carries a deeper purpose. A reminder that even the smallest objects can be part of a more mindful way of living. Today the coat hanger is so familiar that it often goes unnoticed. yet it plays a quiet role in creating order. It lifts garments into the air, it preserves their shape, it keeps spaces tidy and serene. It supports the gentle routines that shape each day. There is something soothing about a row of hangers in a wardrobe, each one holding a garment with quiet steadiness, each one contributing to a sense of calm. The soft curve of wood, the smooth line of metal, the gentle alignment of fabric. These small details create a peaceful environment. The hanger is a symbol of care. It reflects the desire to look after the things that matter. It represents the simple pleasure of organization. It reminds us that even the most ordinary objects have stories. Stories shaped by centuries of change. Stories woven into daily life. As you reflect on the journey of the hanger, you may notice a sense of stillness, a gentle appreciation for the quiet objects that support your routines, a soft awareness of the calm that comes from order and simplicity. The hanger invites you to rest, to breathe, to let go. Thank you so much for sharing this quiet moment with me. If you'd like more bedtime stories like this, then please subscribe now. And if there's a topic you'd love to hear as you drift off, let me know in the comments. Sleep well and be safe. Thank you so much for sharing this quiet moment with me. If you'd like more bedtime stories like this, then please subscribe now. And if there's a topic you'd love to hear as you drift off, let me know in the comments. Sleep well and be safe.